We'll begin with the approval of our minutes from last meeting. I believe that's the June meeting.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed those minutes and they appear to be in order and move that they be approved.
Second.
We have a second. Commissioner Shanto. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move into our agenda. First, item 2 there, presentation from Motorola. We'll not have that this evening. Alex is not here this evening, so we'll just ask you to remove that one from your agenda and move on down to Recovery Court. And we'll start there.
Hey.
Hey, how are you this evening?
And how's everybody doing?
Hey, good work.
Okay. Okay, I'll go over June's report first. For Recovery Court, just go over some numbers. Feel free to ask questions anytime you got them. All right, for our drug court statistics, we had 47 participants. We had 1 graduate. Unfortunately, we had 2 terminate out of that program. 47 participants in the DUI court program. We had 2 that graduated and 1 that was terminated. We had 33 in Veterans Court. We had 1 graduate out of Veterans Court and 0 terminated out of that program. Mental Health Court, we have 26 participants. We had 1 graduate and then we had 1 terminate out of that program. Does anybody have any questions about that report? So I'll go over July's. Not much of a difference as far as July versus June. In drug court, we have 39 right now. We did also include August just to kind of keep that going, but we'll go over that next month. But for now, we have 39 participants in DUI court. We've had 4 graduate and 1 terminate. 49 in DUI court with 4 that have graduated and 1 that was terminated. Veterans Court, we have 21 participants. 1 has graduated and 0 terminated.
Quick question. If somebody terminates in that DUI court, what does that usually mean for them?
It usually means they served their sentence if there's not another option.
Yeah. It also means they could have if they test positive on their drug screens, more than, like if they're in phase 4, phase 3, they test positive several times in a row, we'll terminate them also.
All right, thank you.
So they're usually given quite a few options as far as, and opportunities in other words. All right, moving on to mental health court, we've got 27 participants, 0 graduated and 1 terminated out of that court.
But our numbers still continue to sort of move up on that?
As far as comparison, it seems like, especially for drug court, for the most part, give or take, they pretty much stay about the same. Not a huge influx or numbers that go down either. So.
Anybody have any questions or any more questions while we have?
I move to approve both those reports, Mr. Chairman.
Second time. Okay. And a motion made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let you continue.
All right, to go over the probation reports for June 2019, our total revenue collected was $33,573.07. Our total expenditures was $119,423.66 for a difference of $85,850.59. As far as those that have entered a BPA for June, that we turned over $12,080 to the clerk's office to be collected. We had $11,983 that those failed to enter BPAs in the month of June. So for the total fiscal year, that left us with $194,489.25 that was turned over to be collected for our probation fees through the clerk's office. And then that bottom number there, a total number amount is $329,751.35. That amount was throughout the fiscal year, those that were told to enter VPA. That's just in probation fees, so that's not including court costs. So that number in red, that's the number that those individuals didn't enter a payment agreement with the clerk's office. Are there any questions about that? All right, I'll move on to July. So for July 2019, the total amount of revenue that was collected, that's with what the courts collected on our behalf for probation fees, as well as what we collected, that was $30,774.39. The total expenditures was $98,212.99. That left us with a difference of $67,438.60. So far for July, we had $23,228.25 turned over to the clerk's office to collect for VPAs. Those that failed to enter VPA, that equaled $27,103.50. So of course, for the total fiscal year so far, that left us at $23,228.25 we turned over to the clerk's office, and standing right now, $27,103.50 of those that failed to enter VPA.
You're saying as of right now?
So far, for beginning of this fiscal year, July up until this date, is $27,103. So that's money that's, again, not including court costs that the county is not going to be able to collect.
You got any idea?
A few. So we do our best to tell them, there's really not anything that we can do as far as once they're told to enter VPA for the balance of their probation fees and their court costs, there's really not a whole lot that we can do as far as following that up.
Understand. Any questions? Anyone? Okay, looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the report.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Irwin. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, public safety.
Good evening.
Hello, sir.
How are you all? I think this is my first official seat here as a Rutherford County employee as opposed to a CTAS employee. So bear with me, and we'll keep this going the right direction here. So just want to give everyone kind of an overview where we're at from a public safety perspective, and then we'll break out into the different the agencies and stuff. So our co-location meetings and discussions with the City of Murfreesboro they're back on track and they're going well. We're working through some of the policy issues and making sure that we have the right structure in place so that we can have a successful move, and then obviously the technology will come behind that as well. So that's on track. We're looking at, I feel it's better to push the date a little bit further so that we get it right as opposed to get it quickly. And so we're looking at probably early summer to make sure that we have everything in place and everything tested and the processes so that it'll work well. So when we narrow that date down exactly, make sure that we get that back to everyone. So, but the spirit of cooperation is there, and that's a big step in the right direction there. The
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
question. When did Motorola, of course Adam's not here, when did Motorola indicate that we can get the handhelds for the Sheriff's Department? Because that was part of the budget process. I'm scheduled to sign the contract soon. I think Lisa wants to do it on she indicated to me the 21st is what I told Motorola
Right.
of September. So
just literally as I was walking in, it was my understanding that there's a request to change the models of some of the radios.
Okay.
So, and I think that, have you all had the discussions with them about that?
It's the same model that we asked for in our budget, which we pulled the dollars out so we could get into this project. We've never changed the model. They changed the model. Or I say they, Peter changed the model. We've never changed the model.
Okay. So with that being said, in the next day or two, we need to come back together and huddle on that to make sure that we're all on the same page in regards to that, because it's not what was requested is not exactly what was budgeted. So we've got to figure out how to work through that process.
Mr. Chairman, we'll have to have a meeting quickly. I'll get that set up.
Okay.
And that was literally walking in the door information, so I wish I had a better answer for you.
Sure. Okay.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Who decided what model radio the sheriff should get?
That was prior to me.
I can tell you, we did not, we were not included in that discussion. Peter evidently did it on his own. The models that they included for car radio plus the radios that they were going to give us will not work. We might as well stay with what we got. Single band radio is not going to give us what we got.
Yeah, I mean, right now, since we do not have the 700 megahertz infrastructure in place, if we buy a 700 megahertz radio, it's not going to work for the sheriff's department because there's nothing to talk to. And so even if they get the radios, there's still nothing to talk to. We don't have the infrastructure expansion yet. So that's my concern, the reason I'm asking that question. When I did the previous project back in 11 to 15, we left it up to the departments as to what they buy and what they didn't buy. And we didn't try to dictate what they needed or what they didn't need. Because there's a difference between the infrastructure and the subscriber units, as I prefer to call them. The unit that the paramedic, firefighter, or law enforcement officer is going to be using. And that varies from department to department. But to me, it's best decided by the department. And so that's something I think needs to be really looked into and looked into quick before we wind up with a bunch of stuff that we don't really need.
Well, I totally agree with you, Commissioner. But like I say, I think we need to get a meeting very quickly because now I'm concerned, why wasn't the commission, Sheriff, why didn't somebody bring this forward before we set the budget? I mean, everything should have been checked off on before. We're getting ready to go to the bond market on this in September. It's a little bit late. How much difference are we talking in your rate?
Probably $250,000.
Somebody should have.
That's what we took out of the budget to put in, and that's what we were thinking we were going to
Okay,
get.
well, there's no sense in discussing that tonight. We'll just have to get together and we'll work this out and be prepared to bring it back to next week.
We will sit down with Motorola until we won't lick this cat again. Excuse my country language here, but we'll just do this all over again. And I think Motorola's going to have to,
We haven't burnt that calf yet.
they're going to have to talk to us.
May not be licking it.
Just wanted to mention that as far as the radio's not working, I actually took a trip around the county, and at least on my end of the county, with Peter, and he was using a new radio. Now, the frequency that he was using, I was told, was the two different options we were looking at then, and radios were working, so I don't understand that they wouldn't work at all. So at least the radios that we were trying that day worked very well, both of them. So
Yeah, it's my understanding that with the existing infrastructure that we're adding on to already has some very good coverage. It is not obviously the 100% or the 95 or 96% that we're looking for, but there is quite a bit of capability already before we even fill in all the blanks that we need. So, but I kind of inherited a lot of this, so
Sure.
we're.
I totally understand that. We'll get a meeting set up, Sheriff. We'll be in touch with you and let you know when that's going to be.
We will be communicating.
Yes, sir.
Go that way.
Okay.
So we have worked through the design review phase of the radio system, meeting with that as far as the infrastructure parts, not on the radios themselves, but the infrastructure part. We have completed that. From my perspective, trying to definitely wrap my arms around all three of the agencies has been a pretty good sized task. So I'm in the process of going through and doing the kind of a top to bottom review of everything, and that'll be ongoing for a while. And the balance of being able to do that while managing the daily duties and stuff as far as that goes. So we're already are seeing a lot of cooperation just even amongst our own agencies within ourselves here. Yes, sir.
On the design review, I have another question. Has structural analysis been done on the towers?
It's in the process.
But we can't complete a design review till we know what the structural analysis results is going to come back to.
That's being done as we speak.
I think they started on that 1st of August, I
Yeah.
believe, is what I was told, that they're looking at the weight of what the towers can hold.
Because that's just something that's, if you can't put what you want to put on it,
That was,
then you can't say that you can design this with this site
I
for
think that-
use.
That was initiated immediately upon the passing of the within the scheduling
when I
time
started the
period.
first contract,
Right.
to kickstart it. I think that was part of that. And I sent an email back to them and told them we're not paying anything because we're not going to finance it. We're paying on the bond market. So we haven't paid them anything, but they're already working.
Yeah, because I would not want the county to sign off on a design review until we have
Sure.
structural analysis in hand
Correct.
stating that we can put the products that Motorola wants to install on those towers, on those towers.
With no additional charge.
Yes, sir. So the evaluations are going on with the agencies. I've also scheduled ride times with all with fire and EMS, both with supervisors and on some of the rigs, just so I can get a better handle as to what they face out there and how they operate and stuff, because it's a whole lot better than just asking questionnaires and stuff like that. So we've scheduled a lot of that, and I start with this gentleman right here on Friday, and we'll work through that over the next couple months and everything also. We had this morning, as well as 2 weeks ago, I think a very successful EOC workshop training that's been overdue for a while, and we've had approximately 80 or more folks come in from all of our agencies here within the county, but also all the cities were there as well. I'm not sure if Eagleville was there or not, but I know Smyrna and Laverne and Murfreesboro were, and very positive interactions with the stakeholders, and so they understand where we're at and that we're here to help and to work with them. So I think it was a good kind of first step in reestablishing our Mercy Operations Center program. And on the EOC side as well, we've definitely have done quite a bit of moving around of tables and infrastructure there, and working through that so that it'll be up and ready to go at any point, 24 hours a day is our goal with a very short time to crank that thing up as needed. So that's kind of like the big picture on all the different pieces and parts. The public safety report, I think you've got the Mercy Management Report. If that's okay, I can go ahead while I'm sitting here.
While you're sitting there.
So this is one of those reports that I inherit, and trying to figure out what's the most efficient way and everything. So I would encourage you all to kind of let me know, is there something that we can do better with the information that we give you? Do you want more information, less information, summarized, so that we can be a little bit more efficient with what you get? This is 2 months worth of information, and just kind of activities. A lot of this information goes to TEMA as well for our Mercy Management grant that we received from them. There were a number of training activities that we either participated in or helped to coordinate. And then we had a number of tractor-trailer rigs that had crashes that ended up ripping their saddle tanks and spilling lots of fuel in our county. So that definitely from time to time kept us pretty busy on that. But luckily, a pretty routine couple months as far as the response side, no disasters in place. So, any questions on those?
You did have to, I think on one of those was, it was quite a bit of time. Didn't you have to go out there and put up shelter as far as the heat was concerned?
Yeah, that was out. That was one of those places where one side of the road was the city and one side was the county, and we didn't really know which one was which. So we had a whole bunch of people up there, and it was a tractor trailer from one of the, I think, food banks had just dropped off. It was out in Leanna, and ripped open its saddle tanks, and it felt like about 140 degrees that day. And so we definitely set up some rehab for everyone. And there was just about every agency involved from the city and the county were out there for several hours because it got into the waterway, and they were able to stop it before it got into the main system. But there were some folks that, from a country side of it, they probably had a few chiggers on that response because they had to go through the swamp. Does anybody have any questions that I can help with? And like I said, on the report, if there's something that we can do better with that, please let us know. Just you can shoot me an email or call me or whatever. Be happy to work on that.
Anyone have any questions?
I move to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, a motion to approve.
Second.
And second. Mr. Earl? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I noticed the tower is up at Eagleville now. Is that one?
That was one. I know that they were doing construction work out there, so that's probably one of those. Peter is handling that part of it, but I
Okay.
did see some purchase orders come through for concrete and other stuff out there.
I was out there Friday night, and it really stands out as you come into that town. You can really see it. Even had someone ask me out there Friday night if Rutherford County's going to put a star on it come Christmas. They just
I don't know if that'll affect our reception or not, but it would definitely be very appropriate.
Okay, sir.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Fire and Rescue. Chief Farley.
This month of July, we had 631 calls. 7 of those were structure fires, 5 of them were vehicle fires. We ran 340 in the EMS calls. We had 25 motor vehicle accidents with injury, 32 without injury. Year-to-date call volume, so far this year, we've run 3,768 calls. 44 structure fires year-to-date, 42 motor vehicle accidents, vehicle fires. We've run 1,969 medical calls. We've had 8 search for lost persons, 183 motor vehicle accidents with injury, and 256 without injury, for a total of 3,768. Next sheet is showing all the volunteer responses. To countywide, we've had 80 structure fires, 74 brush fires, 845 motor vehicle accidents, and 12 of those were extrications. And for a grand total of 4,669 calls countywide. The next sheet is what we turn into the codes department on damaged structures. And the next sheet, it was a June report for the arson investigation unit. Since we ran that through the commission, through the full commission, public safety, and the state legislature, got that passed where our guys were able to do police duties. So we've had 2 arrests for arson. So they stayed pretty busy investigating all of our fires and following up on those. Next sheet is we got 14 Tennessee alarm installs. We've had 93 on our grant, and then we've installed 1 Safe Awake alarm. This is for the month of June, and for July there's also the fire investigation unit. you see the Browns Chapel fire was out of, right down Browns Chapel from the school. That was an arson fire that was set by the homeowner. And of course, it burned the structure to the ground, and we had just about every agency out in the county out there. It was about, it felt like probably like 120 degrees out there. We had a lot of hydration issues that day, and they were out there. It was on a Sunday. They was out there pretty much all day long. And then here's the arson or the investigation report for July. And then 13, Tennessee alarms, get alarm installations, 46 of our grant smoke alarm installations, and 2 of those safe awake alarms. And that concludes my report.
You had seems like you've had a lot of residential fires in the last couple of months.
We had one yesterday and had one this morning.
You had a big one out towards Amable. They took most of the departments, didn't you?
That was the one at Browns Chapel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to tell them something about how the tankers worked on that one.
Well, we had every tanker in the county out there, and like I say, I can't say enough about what y'all put into our apparatus because when you take 4 tankers at 3,000 gallons apiece, and what that has done is with what we already had and what we purchased on the south side. When we first took over the county fire rescue, there was no tankers on the south side of the county. Last Cass, Kittrell, Allenville, and then Walt Hill all had 3,000 gallon tankers. Walt Hill's tanker was pretty bad shape. We had to replace it. With what we bought and purchased for Christiana, Fossville, Winnet Station, 52 was at Walt Hill, and then with Barfield, every station in the county's now got a 3,000 gallon tanker, and that makes a big difference as we get out in the rural areas. For whether it be a farming structure or home or whatever, we've always got plenty of water. What we're able to do, I think I told you some time back, because of the tankers, we were able to get an ISO 5 with or without a hydrant. What that means is any structure within 5 miles of a station gets a class 5, because we were able to demonstrate the ISO that we can set up and have a mobile hydrant with us because of those tankers. So it's been a great tool. And of course, Murfreesboro takes advantage of that too. Anytime we respond to the interstate with a vehicle fire, Murfreesboro responds to their engine or ladder, and we automatically dispatch a tanker to them that way, because those trucks only have 500 gallons on them, and that gives them backup water in case whatever they face. So we're working good with the city too.
Okay, so anyone have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. If anyone. Motion approved. Commissioner Irwin, second Commissioner Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, sir. Ambulance report. Very good.
Okay. We set a record for the month of July. On the calls, we had 3,100 calls. And we kept our average response time down to 6.6. And I just wanted, Mr. Commissioner, if it's okay, to publicly recognize the paramedics and EMTs are doing this. I'm short-staffed. And for them to be able to do this with this amount of calls, I couldn't ask for better. So they're doing more than what I could ask them to do. I'm in the process of trying to get them some help, but when I was appointed this position, I think I told every one of you I was going to make it the best. order for me to do it, I got hired to this, so give me time, we're getting there. And I just wanted to point that out. Number of DOAs for the month was 41, and the number of autopsies being sent were 13. Our autopsies, what they're charging us has gone up. If you'll look at last year's, we paid $484,305. The rate has gone up from $18.50 to $19.45 per autopsy. And I'm gonna bring Dr. McDonald up here shortly after this report, and we'll get in a little bit on that. I just want you to keep in mind it's gone up $100 per autopsy. So I'm projecting we're gonna hit way over $500,000 on autopsies by this time next year. We also receive payment from the state for every death that's reported to us. And that's not just the deaths that we work, but if somebody passes away within 24 hours at the hospital, it has to be reported to us, coroner's office. And the state gives us $25 per report received, and we've collected $1,050 for the month of July on that. This hadn't been on the reports in the past, but I asked Melanie, I wanted to start putting it on there because it is revenue that's coming in. On our collections, we billed $1,304,831. Total collections was $687,948. Year to date is $687,948. Our projected collections are $8,255,376. And a 98% collection rate. And insurance write-offs were $605,881, and other write-offs were $287,761.
Those other write-offs, that's what, county employees, or what is that?
It's county employees and bad debt that we have them fill out a financial form, and if they cannot pay, then that's the other write-off.
Who decides whether they can pay or not?
We have them fill out a financial hardship form like the hospital does.
Right.
And if they send it back with all their income and their bills, and we decide whether we're going to write off 20% or take 20%. And we normally do what the hospital does. If they write off the whole bill, then we write off the whole bill. We go by what the hospital does.
When you say hospital, which one are you speaking of?
St. Thomas and Stonecrest.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any questions on that part of the report?
Just the record number of calls, is there anything that kind of jumps out? Is some of them more of them heat related, or is it just more of them?
I think it's the pains of a growing county.
Okay.
That's the simplest way I know how to sum it up. It's not the natures of the calls. The natures are all the same. It's just more of it. On the non-emergency transport truck, we did 185 calls. And total bill was $147,597. Total of collections was $69,241. Year to date is $69,241. Projected collections are $830,892 with a 133% collection rate. Insurance write-offs on that was $95,745, and other write-offs were $39,797. Any questions on those? And we had 5 thank you letters. And one was addressed to me, so. we're gonna have an amendment. Would y'all want us to do that now, or do you want
Let us,
Dr. McDonald?
let us approve your report first, and then we'll move to the amendment.
Move to approve the report.
Second.
Okay, so have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Report's approved. Now we move to the amendment. Yes, sir.
I have one thing that, before we get into the budget amendments, last year when we approved the convalescent service, I think we indicated that we would come back in September of this year and take a look at that. So it would just remind you that we'd like a report at next month's meeting that details out the total from the time of the beginning through August, what we've spent, what we've made, et cetera, and anything else you might, so that we can make as fair a determination on it at that point in time.
We do have a synopsis in your report.
And that's, I saw that,
Okay.
and we just like that whole
Right.
annual, well, from the beginning to
Okay.
through August, and for consideration at next month's meeting.
Okay.
Ready for the amendments? We are requesting to move $50,000 out of our paraprofessionals payroll line item and put $30,000 into our convalescent part-time payroll and $20,000 into our convalescent overtime payroll. We continue to increase our calls in the convalescent division.
The line item per professionals, you're okay with that?
Yes, sir, we have 9 vacancies right now, so.
Move to approve.
I second that.
Motion approved, have a second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Urban?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
We have another one also. This should be simple. Last fiscal year, at the end of last fiscal year, we had $1,445 left in our donations line. Those were strictly donations received from public entities, and we are asking to move that into this year. And also, we received a $250 check this fiscal year from Redstone Federal Credit Union for our EMS week. And so the total of that is $1,695.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner P, have a second. Commissioner Shanfield. Call the roll.
Commissioner Urban?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, is it okay if I bring Dr. McDonald up?
Yes, you may.
Everybody knows this is Dr. McDonald, our county medical examiner. In the past, we haven't brought her up, but I thought it would be a good idea. So we can bring you numbers to help y'all with some decisions that we're going to have to be looking at in the future. So, Dr. McDonald?
So just a quick summary, July deaths. On average, these are not the exact numbers for July, because as you can understand, if it was a weekend, it'd been June, but it comes over into the July month. But on average, we have about 220 deaths a month in Rutherford County. Natural deaths, and then other deaths, which I can summarize. So in July, 215 natural deaths. 5 were, and the ones that weren't natural, 5 suicides, 4 overdoses, 1 accidental death, 1 homicide, and 1 infant death. So the naturals were 203. Of those deaths, the cremations, 75 cremations were approved.
Out of
And,
that 203, or is that above 203?
That's all, of all deaths. A lot of the natural deaths are cremations. There's been a really big trend I should actually plot it out. We're really rising with the percent of cremations monthly. That just seems to be almost a preferred method these days. In terms of death certificates, I'll take all the death certificates for 20. If you die in the ER less than 24 hours and you're not admitted, we try to get the family physician to sign those death certificates. They often refuse because they weren't there when the patient passed away, and the ER docs don't like to do it. So I'll take the jurisdiction on those. And I average between 13 and 20 of those a month that I'll take jurisdiction on. I'll talk to the hospital, I'll talk to the nursing supervisor, I'll get the stories, I'll ask for records. Because I think it's really important to have very accurate information on death certificates, because there's often insurance companies involved and things like that, and it's got to be right. Anyhow, we do quite a few of those. Overall, though, for the first time, we had more suicides than overdose deaths, which is either a good thing for overdoses or a bad thing for suicides. I'm not sure which. Although you have to understand that sometimes those suicides are often people who are fighting addiction. So it's a double-edged sword. That's a very big issue that we're having, not just here, everywhere. So that's kind of an average. I don't know whether there's more different types of information you might wish when I come. We have lots of way to look at data. If there's anything that you're particularly interested in, we can pull reports on that.
Is there a way to break down the overdose deaths as to what the cause was, in a sense?
In terms of?
The drug?
Yeah, and on average, the average overdose death has at least 4 agents involved. It's rarely a single thing.
Okay.
It's a cocktail. But we do get the toxicology on all those overdose deaths.
Yeah, and I'm not sure of how things are done right now on some areas, but if you have an overdose death, and it's obviously illegal parts of prescriptions, not necessarily somebody that's prescribed that. How far do we go with that? Just, out of my ignorance now, there's some places that will look and say, okay, here's the cause of death, and actually do an investigation. I don't want to overburden anybody, but I know y'all do some things at the sheriff's office. But I'm just kind of curious about how far does that go? Because I know some jurisdictions don't do anything at that point. And I don't know, it's manpower and things, but it's kind of back when we started doing cold case and stuff, is you kind of made up for that, because there's so many deaths now due to illegal overdose, who to get it from or something like that. That's a lot of legwork, but I'm just kind of curious if that can be broke down a little more and just say, okay, is there a trail here we can follow and find out where they're getting this stuff?
I know that there's a trend right now in other cities that if they can identify where they actually purchase those drugs, there's been criminal charges laid against the person that's pushed them. It's difficult, though, to nail that down.
Commissioner Gavin, we're actually, the public safety director are putting together we're actually doing it by address. And we're going to be able to see where the hot spots are. We're actually working at it as we speak. Just hadn't built it yet. Gathering all the information.
I obviously don't bring it up, but it's kind of a personal thing.
I understand.
And there wasn't much follow-up on the situation I was involved in, but there's going to be.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a definite trend. The whole opioid epidemic is, of course I work for the Department of Health, and we're very much involved in that, trying to quantify it and try to really break down. We have a whole new division of informatics that's just looking, they have special data from hospital discharge that we don't have access to try to quantify things better.
Without being a source, I just think if we take a little bit more of a step each time, we'll get more educated, and we can start following that, which was something I wasn't aware that you could do on some of that, and I think that would be good to maybe find a way to do that. And it may be that you need more personnel or something, I don't know. But a lot of people die from that. As far as I'm concerned, that's murder.
I think that's the trend that most places are going to.
Appreciate it.
You say 220 deaths,
On average,
220?
yeah, about 220.
A lot of them just are natural causes.
Just natural deaths,
That
hospice.
doesn't key an autopsy, correct?
No, not at all.
So what does? Like out of that 220, how many did we perform an autopsy on?
Of those 220, we had, let's see, well, certainly the suicides go, the overdoses go. Accidental deaths, it depends what the accidental death was. Homicides and all children will go.
So out of the, if we're averaging 220, what are the autopsies that we're averaging roundabout?
Oh, you mean monthly?
Yeah.
We sent 20.
We sent 23 the month, I'm sorry, 13, but it averaged
Okay.
upper teens to lower
Some
20s
months are a lot
month.
bigger for some reason.
You presented to one of the other committees, I guess it was budget, is that correct? And the reason I'm bringing this up here is these autopsies, and you said there were 75 cremations on the report that you just gave us.
Right.
Is that was for the month, or what was that for?
Yeah, that was a month, yeah.
Well, and the report, unless I am remembering incorrectly, we have to do autopsies on all cremations, is my understanding. Is that correct or
No.
not? Okay,
No.
good.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at a huge amount of money there. So explain to me, if it's a natural death and somebody wants to be cremated, then
Right.
there's no autopsy required just for cremation.
Correct, but, of course, a cremation is a pretty final act, so
Right.
I want to make sure that if someone reports it, the funeral homes will contact me and say, I need a cremation approval, and my first question is, do you have a death certificate? And sometimes they say no, and I say, well, then you don't have a cremation approval, because God knows why that person died. So I've got most of the funeral homes, they actually send me copies of all the death certificates of the cremation permits that I approve. And there has been some that just are not causes of death. I mean, respiratory arrest isn't a cause of death, and I won't
Act of God.
allow it, yeah. And, one had cause of death as an autopsy. So called the physician and said, did someone strangle him at the autopsy table? Or, there's got to be a reason he had an autopsy. And he said, well, I didn't actually realize that, so we made them amend it. So you have to be really careful with that.
I would assume that, I know we got other things, but I would assume that most of the cremations are people that had obvious medical determinations, whether it's cirrhosis of liver, cancer,
Right,
or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's no question that if you cremated that
Right.
it could happen, but there's no question that later you're going to say, that type of thing.
Right.
The only one I always am concerned about, and I know the guys I worked with were on top of it real good, was a lot of times your hospital deaths, they're unattended in a sense,
Right.
and they turn that in. So, we've had some good homicides come out of that, if you want to call it a good homicide, which is what our terminology is. That we have to exhume bodies and everything else.
And on the actual death certificates, to the best of your knowledge, given the investigation you've done, someone with horrible coronary artery disease who suddenly dies at home, we presume that's what it is. He could have had an intracranial bleed. There's the thing that pushes you over. Was it expected? Is it something that's suspicious? And sometimes we'll say, he has a lot of other problems, but something doesn't add up here, and we'll send him.
Do you
But
have
that's the death
any
investigation.
antifreeze cases anymore? It's pretty much.
Yeah, I think they've changed.
Kind of changed the flavor of it, didn't they?
They don't get past it.
Excuse me, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't.
It's a nasty way to die.
Another question for you, and this is kind of, I'm throwing you a curveball here.
That's okay.
Do you get all the death certificates each month in the county?
All 220, we do at the health department, all 200.
Well, here's why I'm asking this.
Sure.
Back when I was campaigning, I know all of you have done the same thing. I'll mail a lot of times to my constituents, requesting their vote. And as I was going through the list, I ran across at least 5 in my district that I knew that were active voters that were deceased.
I voted for it.
So, right. But anyway, I called the election commission and I said, hey, this person and this person are deceased. Why are they still on this roll? Because I didn't want to send a letter to someone and their wife is there and they're getting, a campaign letter from me, and I know that they're deceased. And several of these people, I went to church with them and, knew them personally, and it bothered me that they were still on the rolls. And basically they told me that until someone, and they said family, showed them that a death certificate, then they were going to stay on the rolls. And I just thought, well, that's really not a good thing. If somebody tells you that, you know this person has passed away. And I was just wondering if there's some way we can coordinate that with the election commission to get these people off these rolls, because, the last thing I want to do is hurt somebody, bring something back up. If they've had a family member die, and, then you get another letter from them, 6 months to a year or two, and bring all that back up. It'd be nice if we could do something to coordinate.
Well, there's there's a state medical examiner office now, the chief state medical examiner. That's only a new office, been in the last 3 years. That's just been formed, and that's in the Department of Health, and I work pretty closely with them, and we're gathering up new databases. We have one, vital records, a new database. So we're trying to get every single death, be it natural or otherwise, put in that database so we can keep track of people, because those 220 people, of the ones that are natural deaths that have death certificates, they don't right now get into the database. I mean, we could get them in, but it would be, right now it's a lot of work to try to find those and get them put in. I could get all their death certificates, but I don't really know all the particulars about what actually went into the death. And I think it would be incomplete reporting at this point, but we're trying to work on that. That's our goal, is to get every single death in every county in the system in some reportable fashion. So we're better at saying this many were cardiac, this many were, cerebral infarcts.
Is there some way that the department, though, could, in the meantime, until that's done, could the department just send a list on a monthly basis of those that from Rutherford County were deceased? Election office doesn't care how they died. They just want to know that they're deceased so they can double check their rolls.
I don't know what their rules are, but they basically told me until they had proved they weren't going to remove from the rolls.
Just
I
information
think
from
we
the
could do that,
health
actually,
department.
because today someone did call me about a natural death that I had nothing to do with, but the family doc put that she was a smoker and she was 88 and her son was really upset, and I said we can amend that. And so I went into the system and searched by Rutherford, and I could get all of the deaths within a certain period of time, so that's possible. I'll talk with Dr. Lewis about that tomorrow.
I'll look into that.
I think Health and Ed tomorrow night, I'll bring that up with the Health Department Director.
Yeah, and check with Alan Farley.
Well, you need to check with Mr. Farley for sure, because he's the one that told me what was going on. He may have specific rules he has to operate by.
Sure.
And I'm not aware of what his rules are. So.
But we do want to get a better handle on all the deaths for all sorts of reasons. I mean, it's just nice to know what people are, what's the average age of the average death. It seems to be getting older and older in Rutherford County, I will say that.
Any more questions? Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, and for the committee, this is a new commission, and I know this is an issue that's been going on for 2-3 years, Carl?
Yes, sir.
And I think Commissioner Gammon, you had expressed some interest, so I'd like to get a temperature of the commission in regards to a forensic center. The old commission had actually, and working with us at the state when I was still down there, actually put together, and with Dr. McDonald and the Department of Health, put together a white paper regarding a partnership with MTSU in creating a forensic center here in Rutherford County. As you saw here tonight, Director Hudgens showed that Rutherford County paid $400,000
almost $500,000.
almost $500,000 what we're sending to a private company in Nashville to do autopsies. Okay, and the delay in those autopsies because they're so backlogged from all of those going in from Middle Tennessee. They're doing all 30, 40 counties in Middle Tennessee. You got a notice that they were delaying.
Well,
How
we're
much?
waiting, and Commissioner Gammon could verify this too. We'll wait sometimes 5-6 months. Well, I've waited over a year for a baby one
Yeah,
time.
that's not unusual, later, more than a year.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that, and I don't think there's a chief or the sheriff, not speaking for them, as far as their investigators, when you look at homicides or those type of situations, how important it is of how quickly you can get information and stay on top of it and get it. If it's here, you don't have to go wait on it. You don't have to, beg for it in the sense that you're working through another party. If you're working somebody that's technically under the roof of the realm of colors, I think you'd have a better relationship and a better solve rate maybe because you're acting quicker.
I think if there's an appetite to still continue to go forward, I think Mayor Burgess left it in his office that I still have that white paper that was actually done. MTSU still shares an interest in that along with Meharry,
Okay.
Dr. Hildreth at Meharry, because they have merged that relationship with the medical school between MTSU and Meharry, and Dr. Hildreth got really excited about it because very seldom do medical doctors have an opportunity to actually work in a forensic type environment, an educational environment. So if you took then you go, well, how are we going to pay for it? Well, if we're paying $500,000, I know that you've talked to some other counties who would be interested in doing something similar. So if we built a facility large enough to handle more than 2 drawers and a cooler, I think that's about, St. Thomas has maybe 2 drawers, 4 drawers.
I can hold sometimes 4 there,
They don't like to hold them long.
but they
Very,
don't like to
very
hold
similar to Smyrna.
Holds 2.
Is 2. So in the event of what Kevin was talking about this morning, if we had a mass shooting or some natural disaster with numerous bodies, where do you take them? If Nashville, I think Memphis is taken care of. Knoxville's pretty much taken care of. But if there's a mass, say if we had 100 bodies all in one incident, there's no place to take them.
Well, and that was one of the findings that the state had, which is why the Office of the State Chief Medical Examiner was formed during our audit. They said, if a jet goes down, a Southwest goes down over you, what are you going to do? And we didn't have an answer, so they made that office. They said, you need to do the following. And if I can just add one thing that I just heard today is that Shelby is so overwhelmed that they can't keep up with their posts, so other counties are now sending to the Forensic Center in Nashville.
In Nashville. So that's going to
And
more impact.
so there's several west counties that are trying to send.
So from a closure standpoint, then the sheriff can't close out if there was suspected homicide and we're having to do the autopsy. Between that and the court system, they're tied up. It could be 8, 9, 10 months. If it was a SIDS death and you don't know if there was criminal act or they just actually, the baby died in the crib,
Right.
then there's no closure, and that could be 8 or 9, 10 months for closure for the family. So I bring that back to you because there's an opportunity here for Rutherford County in conjunction with a partnership with MTSU and Meharry to possibly look at that and dust the dust off of that forensic center. We would be, and I think the Department of Health
Yes,
is very much
in
interested,
yeah.
Doctor.
Well, have we gotten any preliminary numbers or anything, or what
Yeah.
process needs to start?
The white paper basically has some numbers, what it would cost us to get into that business. So if you're interested, we can bring it
Well, I mean, we're
back.
getting big enough that there's no doubt that we have to.
It's inevitable.
It may ouch a little bit, but there's avenues, but it's just, we need to take care of our own.
Now,
This is a way that could almost pay for itself when the other counties participate.
Well, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would request they bring that information back to us next month, and we run it through and see what we can come up with.
I'll second that.
Sounds good.
Would it be okay if I brought somebody from the state that's more of an expert than I am?
More information about it?
Okay.
Dr. Lewis is the new state chief medical examiner. We've met Dr. Lewis.
Yes.
And she's been responsible for keeping all these statistics, and she's got lots of information to share, and she was involved in the development of the white paper as well.
Well, if there's a chance for state funding to go along with this, we'd like to see that too. So,
Well, I'm sure we could get some Christie Houston Foundation money for the building because they don't do operation, but here you got operating dollars coming in. What we're spending at $500,000, and you get Shelbyville or Bedford County and Smith County and Buchanan collectively, they all come here instead of going to Nashville. If they're going to be overcrowded for Memphis,
Oh, yeah.
you know, we can pay for the
And the south counties south of us are having, Hamilton County doesn't have the capacity, and they're a different kind of organization. They got the educational
What
facility.
about Marshall and Lincoln? What are they going to hospital?
I don't know where they, I could tell you where they, I could get a list of where everybody goes.
That would help
I
in
know.
this next meeting.
Well,
to-
Brian just said
Sure.
that they have to start sending to Nashville because I know they're a small county, but Shelby has said we can't take anymore. We can't take any more.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well,
We'll do that, Mr. Chairman.
I
Thank you.
believe you have the request from this committee for you to do so. Have it bring it back next month, bring us some information.
Thank you. That's
I'm
Dr.
delighted.
McDonald.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a motion
Which motion is that?
to bring the info back next month.
Okay. We have a motion that was made by Commissioner P. I think it's seconded by Commissioner Gamble. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. I believe we're ready for pause.
Good evening.
Happy National Dog Day.
Isn't every day National Dog Day?
Well, it's official today, though.
I'm Shay. I'm filling in for Michael today. So, first, the June reports. Total intakes, 767. Total adoptions, 397. Live release rate on dogs, 94.9%. Cats, 96.1%. Overall, 94.2%. We had a total number of calls, 1,776 for the month. Total mileage was 12,151. So fiscal year numbers, total of 6,615 calls, total of 3,176 adoptions with a live release rate of 91.5%. Total calls received for the year, 21,555, and total mileage, 146,014. For the month of June, we had 48 bite reports. 3 of them were sent for testing. 0 came back positive for rabies. 13 other exposure total reports. 2 of them were sent for testing. 0 came back as positive. And July's reports, total intakes 737, total intakes 730, adoptions 328, live release rate of 92% for dogs, 90.3% for cats, 89.8% overall. Total number of calls 1,981. Total mileage, 13,503. We had 54 total bite reports. 1 was sent for testing, 0 came back positive. We had 13 total other exposures. 2 were sent for testing, 0 came back positive.
Anyone have any questions?
Second.
Okay. Motion made. Mr. P, I believe. Mr. Shanto, the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
Hey, I do have a question real quick. How you say you're doing on staffing?
How we're doing on staffing? We're doing better. We've got the I think we have 12 total positions for officers. 11 of them are filled. Working on getting the last one filled.
Okay.
So we're doing well.
Pay increase, huh?
It does. It's bringing in better applicants. So-
All of the attendance that we approved, I see our HR director here, all the attendance that we approved, taking from part-time to full-time, is that working? Good.
They're actually being able to feel that it's a little bit more money for them, benefits, and just kind of helps the college student, somebody like that, the hours that they're working. And it's
So-
also helping with the vet. We think we've got a lead on another vet to help out with the surgeries and spays and neuters. So hopefully we'll be securing that pretty soon.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Juvenile detention. Ms. Duke.
Yes, sir. Good evening. In front of you, you have 2 months' worth of reports. You've got June from last fiscal year and July. I'll be happy to answer questions from our normal reports for either of those months. The most notable thing from the last fiscal year is that we ended the year with a little over $740,000 that we billed out and received back in. I included a couple of our parenting class brochures and flyers, and then additionally I have the normal information from the month of July. And like I said, I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
The receipts, the billings that we have and the monies that we receive, like from other communities that are sending their juveniles here, that more than pays for itself, correct?
We are currently charging the most per detention bed compared to other detention facilities in the state. So we're getting more per bed than any other facility in the state. I don't know that, I haven't asked finance to do a daily rate workup for me in a couple of years. The last time, we're charging $175 per bed, per day, per child. The last time that she did one, it cost a little more than that. Of course, the building will have depreciated some since the last time she did it, so I don't know that I would say that it more than pays for, but we get a nice amount of money for those beds.
The only reason I'm asking is, it makes sense if we're taking someone else's juveniles into detention that it's not costing Rutherford County taxpayers a lot of money. So if we could get an update on that, just to see.
Another way to look at that is that I have posts in the facility that I have to man, whether there's one child in that area or if there's 16. So if I do have empty beds while I have someone posted there, generally, historically in the past, the preference would be to make money off the empty beds, and that's how we've been handling it so far.
Yeah. Just to quantify that, I'd like an update on that, just to see.
I would second that. I think I asked for something like this last year because Rutherford County booked in average for the last year was 9, as opposed to out of county booked in 27 or 21. So it would be good for us to see. Maybe we don't make any money, but how close are we?
Right.
And so I think, yes, I'd like also request that.
Okay.
I get the overhead deal, it's a way to conduct business, I get that, but it'd just be interesting to see.
Absolutely, and I apologize for not having done that last fiscal year, and I will get with Ms. Nolan and do that now.
Don't break your neck getting that done whenever you can. One of the reasons that I ask is because of the forensic center that you see. It'd be cool if if we could be, instead of a cost center, I don't know how to say profit center, but if we could be more than a cost center, when we look at something like that and say, if we did this, we could probably save the county $500,000. So it'd be good if that was in part of the equation. I'm not saying that you look at autopsies the same as you do detaining juveniles, but
I don't know that it's ever been something that the county believed that they were going to profit from, but I will absolutely get that information.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Move to approve the report. Motion made to approve. We have a second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I believe we have a budget amendment.
Additionally, I do have a budget amendment tonight. When we were doing our budgets this year, we failed to pull out and correctly put some money in one of our line items. So this is really just some bookkeeping and cleaning it up. We would like to move $2,700 from line item 499 and place that into our office supplies line item, which is 435. We just think that the items that will be coming from that line item, those monies are best placed in that particular line item.
That 436.
435, office supplies.
435.
For a long time, the way that we handle other supplies and materials would be that things that we could purchase from Walmart or Sam's on a we used to call it the purchase orders, where you could buy multiple items from a blanket. Thank you. Blanket purchase orders from one particular company. I think the trend now is to be very specific and not do blanket purchase orders anymore. And so since we won't be doing those blanket Sam's purchase orders, we may do a smaller purchase order from Sam's and get items that are more office supply related, whether it be reams of paper or whatever from another company. To do that correctly, we need to move just a little bit of money into office supplies.
Any more questions? Have a motion to approve? Second, Commissioner Earl. Call the roll.
Commissioner Urban?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Correction on Work Center. Now, you could have brought a dog tonight.
I could have. Probably presented better than I did.
How is she doing?
She's doing great. She's doing great. Been working on nicotine over the past couple weeks, and it seems like it's going pretty well. Going really, really well. We have. Try to get through this without having a coughing fit, so I apologize if it happens. I'm sure I directed across the table there. Thank you. You're welcome.
That's too much nicotine.
Yeah, or not enough. We've got 2 months worth of reports here, and I'll try to be pretty brief. Our Work Center Board minutes will be included for July and August, and those are in them. No significant changes. Move over to the work release program. Going great as usual. We are starting to work with a new company. What's the name of that new one? Millwood, over the next couple of weeks, and what's a little different about this company. Normally, we take the offenders to the workplace and then go and pick them up in the afternoon or whenever the shift is over. They have agreed to provide the van and the transportation, and they'll be picking them up and bringing them back. So that helps our staffing quite a bit. They're going to start out with about five employees. Just give you an update on one that you all have heard me talk about before, the one that had saved up $60,000 while he was incarcerated. He stopped by the center the other day and showed us his brand new car. So,
That's awesome.
and he's put a down payment on a house, and he's still working in that same job that he had, except they moved him into a supervision role. So he's doing great program work. And we've got obviously 2 months of that in here too. And then move on to the yearly activity report. Population is staying steady where we're at. And really good about transferring over from the sheriff's office. And then you'll take a look at the monthly reports. One from June, but I know there's a typo there, but it's approximately $118,000 savings using inmate labor throughout the county. And then the month of July, $112,000 using inmate labor. And that's it on the reports, and then I have a memorandum of understanding that needs to be discussed also.
Move to approve those 2 reports.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the report. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe memorandum.
And this is our normal MOU with Doors of Hope that is year to year. One thing reading over it, I did notice, and the mayor and I spoke about it, is there's no termination clause in it. So we did put one in there this time. That's the only change in it. And it basically just says that this MOU may be terminated by either party here too by giving written notice to the other party 30 days in advance of a specified date of termination. And that's the only difference that we've had in that MOU over the past couple of years. And I think it's just a good idea that we have that in anything that we're paying for.
Good idea. Any questions anyone has?
Does
If
this
not,
need to go to budget?
It does, yes ma'am.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made.
Second.
Mr. Peel, second Commissioner Irwin. And I believe it does have some money.
Acclamation is fine.
So we can go back to acclamation on there. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And I would like to just make public recognition of, we had a program recently over the past week where we had Family Day for some of our female offenders, and one of our partners, the Experience Church, donated backpacks and school supplies to all the children of those ladies that are in that program, and it ended up being about 10 children who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to get those free, and we were able to provide that. So just wanted to mention
Through a church?
Yes.
Would you like to say their name?
The Experience Church.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Director Cope, if you would, share with the members from our July meeting, our minutes, tell them about our new increase from TDOT. I've set a goal to make Rutherford County the cleanest county in the state. And of course, we have a new contract that came down to TDOT for the work center, and fortunately, we're going to be getting a new van that won't burn down or stall out on the interstate as we're picking up
Brakes
trash.
stay all over.
Explain that, because heretofore we haven't been picking up on the interstate. So
We, well, and our we'll be increasing and already have probably 3 times what we have been picking up on the state roads too. In the past, we were very limited as to what Tennessee Department of Transportation wanted us to pick up because they had an outside contract with other group that was cleaning up some of the highways and the interstates especially. We didn't touch those at all. So we talked about it a couple months ago. I think came with the new contract and we talked about it. But just to give you an idea, with doing that little bit of extra that we've been doing on the regular state roads, we've tripled the amount of mileage that we're doing. And of course, that's triple amount of money also coming in, which will allow us more time to do the interstates later on when we get the vehicles in this fall when we kick off a new cleanup, what would you call mission there. We're working currently, I've got my guys putting together a training program not only for our staff but also for the inmates, because there will be some additional safety concerns that we have on the interstate. To be honest with you, I feel safer on the interstate than I do on Franklin Jefferson Pike. That's scary. There was an accident out there just a couple of weeks ago, I think, when we were cutting. And so we are doing a lot more than we normally have out there. I wished we could really urge the citizens to do their part too, because as many calls as we get, from citizens asking or telling us about a specific location that needs to be picked up, we also get those calls that are saying, gosh, I feel bad for some of those guys because they were just out here, 2 days ago, and it looks like that they hadn't even been here. So that it really is going to be a mission for all of us to keep our roads clean out here. But these guys that we've got we've added one staff member from inside the facility outside who's picking up some of that extra work, and they're really putting the time in.
See them out there. Sure.
Good.
That's good.
They go to bed tired.
They do. That's there's going to be a lot of work around here over the next few weeks too. We've the sheriff's office is doing a renovation on their kitchen, so we'll be doing our meals, juvenile meals, and the sheriff's office meals. So
I don't like that word renovation, because it's not, this is a must. We're not choosing to do this. We're fixing a floor.
Floor repair.
Thank you.
But needless to say, there'll be plenty of work done over the next few weeks.
Very good. Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right, next thing on here, it says traffic concerns at Rockville schools and Highway 99.
Go to the commissioner.
I don't see any problem. I tell you what we'll do in this.
I did have, Mr. Chairman, a couple of calls, and of course it went to the superintendent, and then the superintendent said call the sheriff, and the sheriff said call me, so here we are in front of the committee tonight. And so just want to put it in front of the committee because the complaints that's been coming to all three of the agencies is that they've been sitting in traffic for 45 minutes to an hour and can't bypass the school traffic because they're headed to work and don't have any kids. So that's some of the complaints that all three of us have been getting.
Okay. And I've asked Trey Lee to be here this evening, of course, from the Rutherford County Schools. Trey has worked out there. Trey was responsible this summer, or involved in it. I won't put him in that spot of being responsible for when we widened the road out there and made changes. Actually, those changes that were made out there come from the state of Tennessee.
That is correct.
They did the study. We started a long time before we ever built the school. We asked the state of Tennessee to do us a detailed traffic study for that schools out there, and they did. They sent us, what, a 154-page study,
Yes, sir.
And they brought it to us, and they told us, you know what, you've got a problem out there, but we're not going to help you fix it. And they said, but here's the study. We've got the study for you to do it. So when the school was built, they gave us the study, and it was up to us to make the repair. And that's what we started as. And Trey, tell me if I'm not telling this story right, but I think there's people need to know that story. But all the way back to last year, in the spring, when school was getting ready to get out, there was a group that formed and got together, and it was from the school board, it was the superintendents, it was the planning commission director, there was our engineer was there, I was there, a road superintendent was there, and we all sat down and discussed how it was going to be done to do that widening. And everybody's agreement to begin to do it the summer of last year. That was our plans. But for some reason, the safety study or the traffic study was asked to be looked at again by the state, or to be looked at again by the engineers. The study didn't get back to us until, what, almost August?
Yes, sir.
It come back to us by August. We couldn't make the repairs. We wanted to make the repairs, go ahead, make the widening and all of that done last summer, where we'd go through a school year and see exactly how it worked. Well, we couldn't do it because school was back in session, so we didn't do that. So it had to be done this summer. All this is all new. The whole work is, I guess you could say, is in trial right now is how we're doing this. But yes, there is a lot of traffic on that road, but now something people need to understand, that's not all school traffic. We're getting a lot of construction right now over in Bedford County, Marshall County, and Williamson County that's coming through Highway 99 in the mornings, coming to Rutherford County to work. So there's additional traffic within that more so than school. So Trey, if there's anything.
Just a clarification though, before school opened up, before the new school opened up, it wasn't that kind of an issue though, correct?
No, sir, we've had this problem for the last 5 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's been ever since I've been a commissioner.
Yes, sir, we've had the problem. What, if you'll allow me, I'll back up just a second. When the traffic study was completed 2 years ago, it showed that there were over 4,000 cars a day coming from the Eagleville area. Now, what county that is, whether they're our county or the next county or whatever, coming to Murfreesboro every day that don't have anything to do with the school system. So when the traffic study was completed, TDOT requested a certain level of extension of the turning lanes. Then they came back last year because of all the growth here and everywhere else and asked for an additional study. That's where we got back. So they came back to us a year after the contract had been let and told us we had to not only do what they originally said, but they added another $158,000 worth of road increase changes. Basically, for that particular road, the only thing that can be done for school traffic is you try and not have the school traffic impede the through traffic. In other words, those turning lanes can't back up to where the cars going through cannot get by because the cars turning left or right, whichever way they're coming from, are impeding their traffic. When that happens, people go around them, they drive off the shoulder of the road, they drive in the medians, they drive on the opposite sides of the road, they do all kinds of crazy things that puts their life and a lot of other people's in danger. So we made all those changes. We've heard the same calls that you've heard, the Sheriff's Department has heard, we've all heard them. But I've talked to a lot of parents that have been going to the elementary and the middle schools that are telling me that it's quicker this year than it was last year. So from their standpoint, it's better. Now, that's not every parent. I had a phone call from a gentleman today who lives in the subdivision behind Rockville Elementary, and that gentleman says it takes him 10 minutes longer to get to school than it did last year. Now, I've been out there 3 separate times since school is open, looking at the traffic. And our biggest concern was the new impact of the high school traffic. What is that impact? Because that's an unknown. We sort of knew what the elementary and the middle school was going to be. I don't have the numbers yet because we're still getting students registered. But I can tell you this much based on talking with the administrators at the elementary and the middle school. Both of those schools have an increase that is going to be staggering. Not only that, most of those children are coming in cars. So my concern was car traffic. Each one of y'all take one. That's just a sampling. That's one day of those 3 days that I sat there. And it's basically every two. Another bus shows up, parent shows up, cars lined up. It's my notes. And basically what that shows is that the elementary traffic, which it starts first, its bell time is at 7:30. We start receiving children 45 minutes prior to that. So if a 7:30 bell time, at 6:45, children start coming into the building. And I took note of the buses and the car traffic and everything. And basically what you'll see is about 7:10 or 7:15 is when the elementary traffic on campus is at its max. In other words, the car riders are lined up nose to tail, and then we start backing out into the street, into the turning lane. Those turning lanes the school did a good enough job, and the crossing guard did good enough job to get the cars off campus and back out into traffic, that those turning lanes never backed up and impeded the through traffic. Now, I'm not a police officer, but I've been in wrecks on the interstate, and once you stop traffic for just a few moments, it accordions backwards, and it takes quite a bit of time for it to uncurl. But what this shows is that around 7:10 is when the traffic on 99 begins to slow down enough that it's what I call stop and go. But at 7:55, all the cars on the road are gone. But the high school bell is not till 8:30. The high school doors have only been open 15 minutes, and the traffic on 99 is dissipated. What that means is the through traffic trying to get to work at 8 is now gone. So we don't have a traffic problem from 8 to 8:30. It's from 7:10 to roughly 8 o'clock. And it's the sheer volume of the cars coming through. And it's both ways, and I wrote it both ways. The cars going toward Eagleville, it backs up for roughly a half a mile. But the cars coming from Eagleville, it's closer to 1.25 miles to 1.5 miles. And it's Rockville Elementary, right now, our numbers today, they're up over 100 from last year. Rockville Middle this year, they've historically averaged, their 6th grade class has averaged between 150 and 200 children yearly. This year, they're 347. I can't predict those. I don't know that any of us can predict those numbers, and a larger number of those children are coming in cars. We also have a problem at Christiana Elementary and Christiana Middle. If you hadn't got a phone call on it, I'll be glad to pass you some because it's coming. And we got calls from the Sheriff's Department, we got calls from the Highway Department. Parsons Road was backing up out onto 231 and backing up the other way back toward the country, and the people that live on that road were literally driving into oncoming traffic trying to get around. So we changed our traffic pattern today to where the elementary cannot come in off Parsons Road. They have to turn into the entrance to the middle school. what that does, it gives us, the county, more stacking ability on our campus. We can get more cars off the road and onto our campus so that they're not lined up out on the road. The problem became school dismisses at 2:30 and these parents are starting to line up at 1:45. By 2 o'clock, they were lined up all the way off the campus at Christiana on the side of 231 past the entrance to the elementary school. I can dismiss in 30, I say our schools, the folks that are at the schools can dismiss car riders at just about any school in the county in 20 minutes. Why these parents want to come at 1:30 and 1:40 and sit for an hour or an hour and 15 minutes, I don't have an answer to that.
Be first in line.
So I guess what I say, we met what TDOT asked us to do. We actually went beyond what they had originally told us to do. We opened our doors 45 minutes early. I've watched the traffic to make sure that, we're doing it. We're getting children unloaded as quickly as we can. I don't know what else we can do out on 99 other than a bypass. I mean, I don't, from a school system and a county standpoint, I think what I'm trying to say is between the sheriff's department and what we do, we're doing, I don't know that they could do it much better. And because of the volume of cars, I don't know.
A couple of months it may settle down.
It usually settles down in a week or two.
I know like Warrior Drive, I mean, it's jam-packed when.
It backs up to Rick's barbecue.
It really does, and all the way to 99. But then it settles down, and it doesn't seem to be as bad throughout the rest of the school year.
And the afternoons are not a problem. Now, they're going to be a problem at Christiana because of the way the cars line up, but at Rockvale, there is zero problem in the afternoon, and it's
Afternoons, you go
because
straight
you
through,
don't
no
have
problem
anybody
at all.
going back and forth to work at the times we're dismissing school.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I'd like to say, you're right, it was a problem before the high school was built. When I was still working for EMA, I ran emergency traffic during school time, and like I never got through it. So this is something that's, been going on for a while on 99, so I think you're right. I think it will clear up as things go on. While you brought up Christiana, since the topic was Rockvale, but you brought up Christiana, I'd like to bring up another school.
I know which one you're fixing to bring up.
And that's Browns Chapel. And I see an easy solution there. That's a stacking lane. We've got about a 3-car stacking lane on the south side, a 3-car stacking lane on the north end. In the afternoon, they go in. I got caught in it the other day. Continuous stacking lane there would solve that problem, I think. And there's room to do it. There's property there to do it. There's, as you well know, on Baker Road, there is no shoulder, no place for anybody to go. So if you get caught in that, you sit there for 20, maybe 30 minutes. And once again, I agree with you. Why do parents show up 30, 40 minutes early to pick up their kids when school's not going to be out? I don't know the answer to that, but I just experienced it the other day.
And they walk out.
Well, it's getting worse at every school. I thought you was going to bring up another one, the one you live behind, but
actually, that's not a through road, so and there's a center lane there.
But they're backing up out onto Morton Road before the high school starts to dismiss
I
now
know,
because of the volume.
But Morton is 3 lanes at that point,
Yes.
so it's not a big. But right now, it's not a big deal, as I see it. But
I'm just saying, we're seeing this here with Thurman Francis. I met with the city of Smyrna. I met with Brian Hercules and Tom Rose last Thursday. Thurman Francis and David Urey. All of our schools are with the numbers increasing, and I don't know if it's more affluent would be the term. Folks are able to go pick their children up. They're not, the addition is, they're coming in cars. And I don't know where, we can't, as a system, and as a county, we can't build enough road for a 20-minute on our property, so we do spill over into the roads. But I guess when Mr. Reed asked me to come tonight, he caught me at the planning commission this morning and said, hey, you need to come tonight. I want y'all to understand we're doing what the state tells us to do, what the traffic engineers tell us to do. It's a volume.
Well, the reason I wanted Trey to come, because I knew the work that had been done, and you know, people are out there and they're caught in this and they're thinking nobody's doing anything. It's not true. I mean, there's been every way of looking at this. You know, what can we do? And the only other way around that is the fact that, you know, we've had the bridge over Broad out here. You might do the bridge over Rock Vale, but for 20 minutes or so, there's no such way to deal with that cost. So, and that's why I asked Trey to come tonight, because I knew he'd been working on that, putting a lot of time in it. I want to tell you something about Trey. Besides doing what he has been doing to get these children their education and whatever, Trey at one time was trying to go to Auburn, and he had to delay that to get his family taken care of and do that. But he promised himself that he would go ahead and get his college education. And the first of this month, he graduated magna cum laude from MTSU.
You've been talking about what?
And I just think that's something that he did that. And with all he has to do, he went through all of that, got his college degree, and graduated at the top of the class like that. And I just think that's something to be
Much better than Auburn. Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
He's a Blue Raider.
I'm a Blue Raider now. Well, 2 of my 3 daughters went through there, so a lot of my money already went. I appreciate the kind words, but I'll be honest, not the main reason, but one of the reasons I did is I promised my mother, and she's getting on in age.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to mention that. I just think that's a great story.
I appreciate you saying that, and I've tried to keep it under the radar, but my wife is not as quiet as I am. But thank you.
Yeah, Chairman put it on the radar tonight, so congratulations.
I just think that anybody graduates from MTSU, I'm going to put it out there.
It's worth bragging about.
Well, thank you. But any questions? I mean, yes, sir.
You know, I appreciate you sharing about the traffic. This morning, I happened to have the appointment with the gentleman, and he said, well, I'm running late, you know, we had appointment 8:30. So when he came here, he said, well, where do you live? I live in Brockville. He told me about the traffic.
Well, what you have to do is either plan early or come a little bit later.
Yes, sir.
But what's interesting, I myself at times, I've started using the roads around it, and they're as clear as can be. I can tell you, you can go through Panther Creek over to Crescent, right down to Barfield, and come right out to 99, and you're in Murfreesboro. In fact, a little bit, I can go that way faster than I can anyway on 99. You go around Winrow, come over to Veterans Parkway, you're in there too. So you can go around it if you're caught in this time period he's talking about. You can bypass it. We've already got 2 bypasses around Rockvale if you want to use them.
I was amazed at the number of people that were already using Thompson Road and coming in the back way to get to the high school. It really amazed me those 3 days that I was out there, because I'd start in the parking lot of the middle school, and then I'd just kind of walk to the back as the bell's times changed, and the number of cars, because when I looked up at 8 o'clock and there was hardly any cars coming in but they were coming in between the middle school and the new athletic field, but there was just as many coming in the back.
Right.
So that back road we put in, that has helped.
Cut a lot of the traffic.
Dude.
That's great.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
all.
I believe it's your turn, Sheriff. And I think he can also tell you a little bit what's going on in some of these school zones as well.
While the sheriff is coming up, let me make a really brief comment. I live on Greenland Drive, and Riggs Rogers School starts at 8:30 in the morning, and MTSU starts at about the same time. I've dealt with that exact same problem for 30 years, and it's an age-old problem. and there's no good solution for it. It is what it is. But if I need to be at a planning commission meeting at 9 o'clock, and I know MTSU and Reeves Rogers starts at 8:30, I've got to leave home at 8 o'clock to drive downtown for a 9 o'clock meeting. And I realize that that's the way that it is. Just to make this other comment, those of us that have been on the planning commission in the past or for a long time have heard comments for 30 years, Robert, that they'll object to a new development going in because I moved out here 15 years ago to be in the peace and quiet of the country. The standard response from the Planning Commission is there is no such thing in Rutherford County anymore. And this, what we're having in Rockvale, proves it.
That's right.
Rockvale was the peace and quiet of I moved out here for that. And there is really no such thing in the county anymore. And when people come and say, I don't want this, we've got too many cars on the roads and stuff like that now, the answer is, where are you going to put it? And what are you going to do with it? So it's a problem that is not going to get better. It's not.
That's right.
One quick comment too, and I started to tell Mr. Lee, thank you. I was on planning 12 years ago, just to show people that we look at these things. And I was one of the planning commissioners that said we need to bring that traffic in off Thompson Road. So we do look at those. That was 12 years ago, and of course it's just now happening that it's coming about. But it takes so long when you plan a road. Let's just say, okay, boom, we're going to build this road. Well, it's still 5 years from then by the time you get funded and get it done before it's completed. So it takes a while to react to some of the problems. But anyway, we do look at those things.
That is right. Okay, sir.
We ready?
We're ready. What do you want? You want to do your report first or your budget?
I usually do my amendments, or y'all can ask. We don't really give you
Okay.
a report other than what
We
you
will
read
follow
over.
your lead. Go right ahead.
The first is we're recognizing our Doors of Hope grant that will end in June. This will be the last year of our Doors of Hope grant, so of course we'll be researching that. But at $61,287 or $287 that we need to recognize it and give to them to spend.
Do you want to continue on that, Mr. Chairman, or you want to?
They're different line
They're
items.
different line items. I think we're going to take them one at a time.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion approved. Second, Commissioner Gurley. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Urban?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes. All right, your next one.
Second one will be to recognize some leftover money from our THSO grant and our teen driving program that we offer, and to put that in additional line items for us to spend for this year. Total was $15,280. It'll be put in salary line items and our supplies for the teen driver safety program.
Motion to approve. Have a second. Commissioner Sereno.
Let me ask a quick question.
Okay.
That teen driving program, is that grant money? It is. It's grant money.
It's, you've seen the simulator and the crashes, and we offer that, and we offer driving programs on campus and things like that.
Can we legally move that money?
Yes, you can.
Okay, just asking.
I had Reba do it, so I know.
Okay. Call the roll.
Commissioner Urban?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
third is our DEA account, which we have to go to zero every year, and now I'm reappropriating that money in the light expense accounts.
Make the motion.
Have a motion? Second. Have a second? Call the roll.
Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Petty?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
And we have our report in the back, or any other questions you may have from stats that we provided.
That line item that relates to postal charges, it looks like we've already used.
We'll fill it up on the front end.
Fill it up on.
Is that the machine that you're
Yes, sir.
talking about? Okay, thank you.
Loaded up front.
Okay, thanks. Move to approve the report.
Second.
We have a motion to approve. Motion's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Do the floors, or you want to do cement?
Motion carries.
Which one you want? Let's do the floor.
You want it to present?
I believe we're into the floor. Is that where we're?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Repair of the floor.
Repair of the floor.
Yeah, not renovations,
Not
this is a
renovation.
repair of the floor. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the sheriff and Preble came to me a couple of weeks ago, said that this was in immediate repair, the floor, because they're open, 20 hours a day, basically. Because they're having to cook so many meals, so they start like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the floor that was put in there previously, we actually went back and tried to do some research to find out who installed it, and I'm sure we probably did, but it was from City Tile. So I asked them to get 2 quotes. They came back with a quote that's over $100,000 to put in a new floor, evidently. And so when they hose it down at night, the water's continuing to go under the tiles because they have some sections of tiles that's out. So the water's creeping underneath the current tiles. And I kind of had some heartburn with over $100,000. I got another quote. It's pretty close to $100,000.
136.
Yeah, 136,000. And I asked them while we were sitting there to look at some type of an epoxy process that might serve us better at a cheaper price. And so fortunately, Sheriff and Preble and others, they had doing some research and found somebody locally in Smyrna. And I'll turn it over to Preble and let you
This is a,
share that information.
we're looking at a pretty new age where it seals the floor completely. There will be no cracks. It seals about 6 inches up on the side, the molding, and it adheres to the concrete. It's a long process and apparently a very expensive one at $136,000 and $111,000. So we had, talking about a garage floor, polysporadic floor. It does basically the same. It seals to the concrete. It creates a waterproof barrier. It's 1/8 of an inch, just like what I got quotes for on the other. It's waterproof, durable, it's slip resistant. Everything we're asking for in the floor. But do I need it for the next 10 or 15 years because I have no idea what this county's gonna do at a later date, or do I need a lifetime paying $100,000? This will do what we need it to do.
It's got
Yeah, and it still has the 10-year warranty on it. And it's $28,452, and they're willing to work double shifts to get this done, which no other company was willing to do. We're shutting our kitchen down up to 14 days. I don't think pricing's gonna be an issue on the kitchen, it's gonna be more work. But my maintenance people will take everything out, that's saving $8,000, and put it back in. These people will be ready to go the day we get all the tile out, okay? And they will be ready to go. It's a curing process, though. Once you get the grinding of the concrete, it's a curing process, it takes a couple of days. And then you do another coat, and then you do another coat. then we have to wait 24 hours, prefer to wait a little more, then we have to put everything back in. So we're saying up to 14 days that our kitchen will be down.
Advantage of this floors, it's not only water resistant, but it is grease and oil resistant too, so it won't penetrate this.
What do you do when you shut the kitchen down? You order some pizzas?
Well, we thought we'd do that, or we would go to Marco's.
Summit.
We're gonna make a popular Uber delivery. Go ahead.
Summit's gonna, we're just trying to do.
Talking about from the workhouse.
They'll come from the workhouse.
Well, they do our food.
Yeah, I mean, last time it was shut down, that same thing.
It is. They do our food now. It's a contract with all, and so they'll just prepare it and then bring it to our facility.
I don't see anything going smoothly, but we're gonna try to make it go smoothly.
I bet it goes smooth.
Such an process that you're talking about, is it used any other, like, food processors?
He has done commercial
He has done
kitchens with
commercial,
this, about pictures, and they come out, they call it Titan, and they're out of Smyrna, Florida.
It's a franchise out of Pennsylvania, and this guy in Smyrna has the franchise for this product called Titan, and I went in and researched it as well. It came in about $3,000 over their $25,000 allowable. They could have gone ahead and spent it, but I just asked if the committee gives me the authority, we'll go ahead and sign off on our purchasing. They're allowed up to $25,000. This was $2,500 over the $25,000 that all departments have. I just wanted to run it by the Public Safety Committee to see if it's okay, so we can go ahead and get the thing going. We'll send it on the
10-year
finance.
guarantee on that.
Yes.
And what was the cost? I lost out on that.
$28,452. They had given us a quote to do the demo at $87.50, but we decided we could do
If
that.
you get anything last 10 years in that jail, God bless you.
It's gonna be,
But that's probably gonna be the way to go.
Tighten up on that quarry tile. What's happened over the past 5 or 6 years is small cracks have developed in it. Water's got under it, and then it just started
Well, also
bubbling.
you're using chemicals and everything, yeah.
Yes, we are.
That's the biggie right there.
which this is resistant to chemicals, grease, water. It's not porous.
It won't stain and do those things.
Well, they used it on commercial garages, heavy-duty garages.
Industrial
and, commercial kitchens, et cetera. So
When we remodeled St. Clair this last time, I think that we used it in some of that out there.
What do you need from us?
just approval.
Approval for that 28,000.
28,000.
That's very reasonable.
Makes sense.
Yeah, very much, yeah.
Have a
Come down
motion
and
over
visit.
here,
I'll
have a second down there.
That's very reasonable.
Mr. Burley, I'll let you call the roll on that.
Okay. For an emergency
Yes.
expenditure, does this need to go to budget?
We're gonna start next week, so I'll- we're shutting it down.
Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Peake?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Thank you. That's really good cooperation. I just love seeing that, so good job, all of it.
Yeah, that's a good job.
Tremendous with everybody meeting together, which you can't accomplish.
We were in a panic, trust me.
Before you leave, Sheriff, I think you need to tell them, we got into the situation with the crossing guards.
Yes.
Where we are there.
Okay, give you some idea, and there was some misinformation that was given out that, I don't know, some of you may have seen or may not have seen, that the commission did not approve, and that was totally erroneous, which we have corrected. We're down 22 crossing guards at this time. The reason being, nobody's interested. And the job, we've got 2 coming on that we're going to go and augment Rockville with those 2. A lot of our crossing guards now, because of different time zones, or when school zones meet, when schools start, then they'll work one and then move to another, and so they're doing double duty now to try to cover our schools. One of the things that we have looked at that we're going to do is, of course, these people are part-time, an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon. And Preble has worked
out and looking at our part-time money that we've got. And the city is paying $38.86 a day, that half hour and 1 half, so they get it for 1 hour, and we're requiring 2. So we've looked at taking our part-time pay up to 19 an hour to try to match the city, so we can draw some people, try to get somebody to apply for these jobs. In addition to that, what we want to do is we've got a sergeant in the SRO division, and of course they're trying to keep up with 75 positions, which is turned into almost a full-time job, taken away from being a school resource. So we are going to take one of our crossing guards now and bring them in at a supervisory level, part-time, and let them help oversee this, and then start trying to beef that program up a little bit.
What's your time factor on requesting this?
Oh, we have
All
it
we
within
have
the
is money.
budget.
You gotta go on
I had to
that.
cut some
Money.
other
Good.
part-time
Yeah.
money, but,
Okay, I
or
just
cut
wanted-
hours, but.
See if
we're
you
gonna
needed
make it work.
anything else.
No, we've cut, Preble took a look at the part-time people that we've got now, and in some of the other areas, we're cutting back, so we can make sure that we've got the money to cover this. It's in our budget now, so we're not asking for anything at this point.
That's like good competition. Maybe pay $1 more and take some of the cities.
There you go. We should. But that's kind of an overview of what we're trying to do.
Commissioner Gordon?
I know we're short on crossing guards, but I just want to take this opportunity, since we're talking about crossing guards. We've got a crossing guard that works Red Hawk and Morton Lane. When he started in '06, he was 75. He's 88 years old right now.
Shows up to work every
He
day.
is there every day, rain or shine. He knows the history of the community. Mr. Spann is an asset to the Sheriff's Department, and I'm sure he would appreciate a pay raise. But he is reliable. We need more, and he takes a serious interest in the kids and the community and things that go on. So I just want to give a kudos to.
That's a good shout out.
We've got some really good ones out there too.
The crossing guards we've got, I wouldn't trade them for anything because they are very dedicated. Rain, sleet, snow, they're there.
They do a good job.
And I mean, they do a super job, a super job.
And they take care of Siegel good. I mean,
They do, they take care of it.
We've asked them, and they've done this for us this year. We have 75 positions. Because they're willing, until we can get more, they're willing to do those doubles. Not everybody wants to, but they're doing it. Really, that's covering about 70 positions. So they don't want to continue doing it, but they are.
I mean, they stepped up, so
That's a headache.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I'm just saying is to
No,
keep up
it's-
with all that.
Trust me, it's a job, and,
Is that a cost to the sheriff's department, or is it a cost to the school system?
Did they get hazard duty pay out at Rockville?
They should.
The reason they do that, if these employees were paid by the school, then a percentage would have to go to that budget to the city. That's why the county sheriff's office took over.
It's gonna come from somebody, so.
I'm just trying to get a better understanding of.
One way or the other, it still comes back.
Well, they decided they weren't gonna do it anymore, so
Yeah.
there you go.
So the
Maintenance of effort.
The resource officers
We have to give that part up to the city.
paid through the school system, correct?
No, us.
School
They're
resource
full-
officers?
No, sir, they're full-time.
They were partly paid at first.
Yeah.
First 5 or 6 years, then that changed because again, when a percentage had to start going, think about how much money would be going to somewhere else if they were in the city's budget.
Plus the fact they're a certified officer, certified just like everybody else is.
There was a question also on special needs kids, if I remember right on that, where they said if you work school systems, you have to comply with that guideline, which was gonna handicap them doing their job.
Okay. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Hey, good job. Good job.
We are going to send that to budget just for
But
information.
we'll send that on the budget so that that information is in there.
Sure.
Okay, well, I'll go kill somebody.
And budget will
That's
prob-
fine.
and budget will probably meet by the time you're finished with it. and the time it's
Well,
ready.
If they say no, we'll say, whoops.
It's in my budget.
It's in our
I just may
budget.
do more later.
Yeah, we may need to come back and say,
Yeah, but we'll send it on. Believe it ready for OSHA?
Good evening, how are y'all doing?
Mr. Elam.
There's, I got it for them. Okay, as you can tell, Dan Good's not here today. His wife's had surgery and they've had some complications, so keep him in your thoughts and prayers, but I think everything's going to turn out well. But I'm here today. I apologize for the June report not making it on the iPod. So I'll go through the OSHA report for June. As far as for the month, you'll see there's a total of 15. And then for the year to date, there's a total of 132. For the OSHA log, on the total recordables, there's 85. Restricted day claims, there's 36. Lost day claims, there's 18. And other recordables, there's 31. As you flip over, you can see the graph. What I look at is the year to date. And you can see for 2017, there's 107. 2018, there's 124. And then 2019, there's 132. In the insurance meeting, I want to address it because Commissioner Phillips brought it up in the insurance committee. And we're looking at a spike in April, still continued into May, and then it drops down into June. On a monthly basis, again, you would ask, there's sometimes a trend that may follow. Of course, as you see for June and July, the school's out, so you wouldn't see that many people. And that's why you see a drop. And then August, for some reason, just because everybody's back and they've been out for any period of time, you'll see it. There'll be another spike. And then as you look in December, they're out 2 months, and that's why you have it go down. It doesn't really explain much into April, but if you go back and look at 2018, what you'll see is for January, February, March, and April, all 3 times last year, you had spikes. It's hard to predict when injuries occur. I know for this month of April, and I don't want to violate any HIPAA laws here or anything, but I do know, that month, after looking at some of the claims and reviewing, not too deep in the weeds, but that was like where somebody had a dog jump out of the car and bit one of our employees. I mean, so I couldn't find a lot of rhyme or reason, no rhyme or reason in January and February why it went down. But what I would point out to you that what I'm looking at is the trend on the year to date. And if you look at the year to date from 107, 124 to 132. So then the next thing that I wanted to look at, without dragging this out too long, is that the actual amount that was paid in the OJI and the workers' comp. And out of almost $750,000, there was only like $14,000 difference last year compared to this year. So what that told me was even though we have a larger amount of claims, they're smaller. So just so you'll understand, I know this is a long explanation, but in trying to understand each person's job duties, we're working at putting a greater emphasis on education and trying to get to the accidents quicker and follow up our reports a little bit better with employees and see what happened, why it happened, what we need to do to correct it, and what's the cause of it so it doesn't happen time and time again. Especially at the same facility, if it's something that we can correct in a hurry or we can do something educational. So I'm not saying Dan hadn't done a great job, because he does a great job, but some of the clerical stuff we're trying to shift within the office, so it gives him a little more freedom to address things as they occur. He does now, but we're just trying to free up some more time for educational purposes. So, on the next page, you see cause of injury, you see Board of Education 5, County General 10, and Highway with 0. You should have on your iPods, you should have for July 2019, and you have a total of 11. For the year-to-date, you have 143. And then for the OSHA log, you have total recordables, year-to-date's going to be 93. Restricted day claims, 41. Lost day claims is 20. And other recordables are 32. If you go back to your graph, again, you still see the spike in April and May. And then it drops down pretty close to the way it was before. And you can expect, because of school being out, that spike to happen again in August. Next page, you'll see Board of Education, total of 4 for the month. County General 7, and you didn't have any at Highway. Sorry. I don't know if you want to approve the report, but I got a few more comments after this.
Okay, well, just, any questions on the report? If not, I'll take a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Irwin, second. Commissioner Shanto. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, a couple of comments I'd like to bring to you is that we've changed our property and casualty carrier, our carriers, our two Assured Partners, and then they have a third-party administrator, which is Collins and Company. We were with CCMSI, I think, 10, 12 years. In the meantime, there's been it all started July 1, but some of it started before, getting ready, getting the files ready, and then dumping the files. Had a few days that had a little hitch in the files getting dumped, but they all got dumped. Now they're in the period of trying to process everything, and things seem to be running pretty good. I will tell you, in one of the emails that I've got, in trying to prepare the reports that we normally got from CCMSI, the answer I got was like, we have 82,000 document files that we are processing. So just to give you an idea, it's just a file, it's not 82,000 pages. So we have been in communication with them, trying to prioritize, making sure people had their an OJI check if they were out of work and they were getting a check, to make sure those checks were taken care of. So I did want to pass that along to you. It's and in the process, I'm hoping by next month we're going to look at possibly bringing a report to you that I think that's help you with your decision making, and a little more information here with type of injuries, things like that. But hopefully it'll give you some more dollar values and some loss runs, things like that. I don't want to overwhelm you with information. I know you have stuff to look at all the time, but it's just a whole different process with them as it was with CCMSI. It was working. But, those reports that we get are now shut off. We don't get those anymore. So it's a matter of creating additional reports from Collins and Company and sitting down with them, and I talked to them today about it again, trying to bring you information and help you make good decisions. The last thing, a couple of things here. Health fair. I know this is public safety, but I do want to promote this for the employees. The health fair this year is going to be from 3 to 7, October the 18th, at the Ag Center, Lane Agri Center in the back community center. Annual enrollment will begin October the 18th. We're going to start it at noon, then you'll have help. Anybody that comes to help you with your annual enrollment, you will have help from 3 to 7 at the health fair. If you want to come to the health fair, if you have some questions about your insurance, things like that.
And that's the first time for doing that.
I won't say it's the first time. I just know it's been a while since. Okay. Well, OIT's been great. They've been out with us. We've got everything set up, and hopefully it'll go flawlessly.
So you can actually go.
So you can actually go to the health fair, and if you have questions, I've tried to bring in as many resources as I can outside. Cigna's going to bring in some people. Yeah, I can't say for sure. Y'all say it is, I believe you. But what we're trying to do is to get the word out there and help the employees. We have, our people have visited almost every county general department, if I'm not mistaken. We like maybe 1 or 2. We're in the schools now, visiting the schools and the teachers. And of course, the goal is to educate you now about your health insurance, and then you make the changes in that 2 weeks instead of trying to educate you in that 2 weeks also. I do want to say, I know, thank you. We made a little budget transfer back in May. We got us some laptops and things, and it's helped us go mobile. So, I know some of the people, it's just been very good feedback. But the health fair runs beginning noon, October the 18th on Friday, and it ends noon November the 1st on Friday. And the reason why we cut it off on Friday instead of like on a Monday is so we have all week to answer somebody's question that they may have worked on it, if that makes sense. We didn't want to turn it off on Monday and all these people were scrambling around over the weekend trying to figure out how they wanted to do it. So we wanted everybody to have the opportunity. If you had a question, you had 4 or 5 days, 4.5 days basically, to call us before that deadline occurred.
When does spring break for the schools end?
I think
Fall break.
fall break, yes, I believe fall break is the first week in October.
Is it the first or the third?
I think it's the first. I think it's the first week in October.
So it doesn't interfere with that, that's what I was getting at.
No, it doesn't interfere. And if when we looked at the calendar, if I remember correctly, you have fall break.
It's the 7th or the 11th.
Yeah, and then you have a week, and then annual and open enrollment starts.
Okay.
So people get back from fall break and they want to get that behind them, and then they can ask some questions, call the office. The rates and everything, y'all have already approved those, are already set. So anybody that wants to sit down and compare their, look at changes they might want to make, they can go ahead and make that now. So
the health fair is the 18th, right?
yes, sir. Health fair is the 18th from 3 to 7. All right. Anything else?
Let me just follow up, Ed.
Yes, sir.
Dan has done a good job. This committee, over the last few years, has grilled him on certain things, and we think we've seen an improvement in our total incident rate. And let me just mention that one more time. You talked about dollars. If we focus on dollars, we're not going to improve our safety program. What we have to focus on is that total incident rate. If that total incident rate comes down, dollars will follow.
That's right.
So there could be an accident. You could have 2 accidents, and one of them be a multi-million-dollar accident. You could have 20 accidents, and they're all $100 accidents. So the total incident rate is what we need to focus on, and Dan has been doing a pretty good job of that. And that's the reason I asked that question the other night is where we are from that rate compared to other systems, like systems. I think Dan has all that information.
He does, and because of the HIPAA laws, it's locked up tight right now.
I know all that is pretty accurate.
You are definitely right. There is a correlation with your incident rates because sooner or later, when you have more incidences, then the big one occurs. It does.
Some of those things can explain some of the spikes that are there too. He's also done a really good job, as this committee well knows, in following up those accidents with an investigation.
He's a very dedicated and loyal employee.
There is such thing as an act of God, but it's really rare.
It is.
When God hurts somebody. And most every accident is either an unsafe act or an unsafe condition, and most every accident falls under one of those two. So if the accident investigation reveals that it's an unsafe condition, we fix it. If it's an unsafe act by the employee, then we educate. So it's not a blame situation, but we try to fix whatever caused that accident so that that employee or other employees don't commit the same unsafe act or be exposed to the same unsafe condition. And I'm real proud of what the county's done over the last few years, because you can't budget for accidents, you can't do it, and every dollar we save, we see that incident rate goes down, is a direct reflection on this county's bottom line, and that's the reason it's so important. So thank you for keeping us informed on that.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think you covered. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right, we're down to other business, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, Siemens is here. If members will recall, Siemens, when this body agreed, the full commission agreed to enter into an MOU with Siemens, and they were going to go out and do a study and come back and tell this body whether or not that they could do what they felt that they could do, and that has been completed. So they're here tonight to show this committee how much they're able to save the county taxpayers, and Sheriff, come on up. And what changes, I think you chronologically, in the last presentation they made, you saw the timeline why they're here for the August and ready to get started. So turn it over to Siemens.
Thank you, sir. My name is Rob Klutzen. I'm with Siemens, senior energy engineer in the Tennessee and Kentucky area. Ron Graham is our account executive, and unfortunately he couldn't be with us tonight. He's out of the state, actually. We presented to property management last week our findings and costs and the savings that we were able to come up with after we looked through the buildings for a couple of months. Is there is the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yeah. It's on our.
There we go. Okay, so I was just gonna, it was recommended that we come sit down with you guys this week and then go ahead and just present the same findings that we presented last week to property management. So I'll try to do this fairly quickly. So going back through our timeline, we started this process in May, and we're up in the August area now. So we're looking for approval from property management, which we received. And then this next time it will go to the finance committee for approval. Then it'll go to the full commission. If everything works out, we hope to be under contract in October. And we predict about an 8-month construction schedule, which will put us into May of next year as finishing the project. We went through all of the facilities. And the compelling needs that were presented to us on the front end of what you guys, and it was actually listed in an order of what you wanted to do the most. The biggest compelling need out there was the laundry facility. So expansion of the laundry facility was #1 on the maintenance list. Right now they're running 2 commercial washers and 2 commercial dryers. They run 24/7 and they run 365 days a year. So they're trying to get the shift work down from 3 shifts to 2 shifts by expanding the laundry. The big issues with that was they didn't have the space, and then of course the cost of the machines and all of the construction related to it. So we came up with a good idea on that, and that was to expand the area into the storage room in the back and then provide them with the additional machines. Another one of the compelling needs out there was the rooftop units that currently feed the medical area and the women's area. There's 8 of those, and they've reached their end of life cycle, so they want to start phasing them out and replacing them. So we were able to look at that. And then they have done about 90% of the LED conversion in the facility. The areas they haven't done are the 400 men's cells and the chases that feed those cells. And then there's some stairwells, as well as some just some can lighting, incandescent can lighting, and CFL can lighting throughout the admin areas. So we looked at all that. One of the ways to take care of all this was through water conservation. You guys spend a whole lot of money on water out there right now, and we were able to look at going with lower flow fixtures, aerators, and things like that to bring the actual use down, as well as looking at inmate behavior and how they use the current water closets and showers. So just going through this, project summary, it's just a little bit under $2.4 million was the total project cost. Of that, of the facility improvement measures we have listed on the left there, water conservation, the laundry expansion, LED lighting, some kitchen hood controls, some RTU placement. We're going to get a total of $176,000 of combined energy and operational savings for the project. And by using that money to pay for the cost of the project over a term of 15 years, it'll be a fully self-funded project. So there'll be no out-of-pocket cost to the county. Any questions on that?
Just, you said the HVAC units are kind of at the end of their life cycle?
Yes.
Anyway? So if we didn't do this, we'd have to replace those anyway, right?
Yes. They're already spending a lot of money on maintenance on them now.
I understand. So that cost is included in this?
Yes.
If we said we're going to have to do that anyway, you took that cost out, it would even be better. And the way I'm looking at it, you're going to have to do that one way or the other, right?
Yeah, well, the way we're presenting it, there's no capital cost to you guys, so the money could be used elsewhere. I'm sure you have needs.
I guess that's what I was trying to say without saying it correctly. So, but those HVAC units are going to have to be done one way or the other.
Yes.
So this is a better way of looking at.
Yeah, what we're able to do with this is we can take savings from one piece and apply it to another, and therefore we're able to do more work, and we're able to come up with a project that cash flows over a specific term, and it's completely paid for. So it addresses all of the major concerns they have out there right now.
It's just really cool. We did something a couple of years back, I think, and at my age, everything is 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, you know. But a few years back, we did some things with showers because they just were not working right. Do you remember anything about that, Virgil? We had issues, and are we still having issues with those shower stalls, or have we corrected all of
Back in
those?
the day, what was done, you have to do it separate. It's a constant.
It's a constant.
Yeah, constant repair. You know, they epoxied the things, they changed the water heads, they've done this and that, which, you know,
We've done some things to reduce flow, not to the extent of what they're going to come in and recommend that we do. One of the things with the expense is when we were trying to recertify, one of the things they found is we did not have enough showers, so we had to add 26. So that was part of the recertification process that we had to go through.
Couldn't just hose them down.
They wouldn't let us.
we used to.
There wasn't time, right?
I got one question, and it was one of the shortcomings that had to do with kilowatts and everything, is the transformers out there. Is we had gotten where there was a point, and maybe it's been fixed, don't know. But you can only put so much power in that building.
Right.
And the units that are going to be put in the laundry room, is that additional units, bigger units, or what?
There's slightly there are two existing, and then there's two new on both the dryer and they're slightly bigger. The washers are 140 pounds versus the 100 that you have now, and the dryers are 170 pounds versus the 120s you have now.
I'm just wondering, what did the Murfreesboro Electric say about increasing the pool?
No, you're good, because they recently did some kitchen renovation and they put new paneling in there.
Right.
So we're actually pulling all the power off those panels. So we confirmed that you had open breakers and things like that.
That's being confirmed. And we-
Yeah.
Good.
We've got surplus.
That's the only thing I'd be concerned, yeah.
Yes. And then On top of the washers, we're actually adding ozone injection into them. So you'll see a lot less hot water usage as well as chemical usage involved with that too. So ozone is just a great way of killing microbials. It's like 99.9% effective. And then you don't have to use as much hot water in the rinse cycle to kill the same microbials. So we're able to cut the hot water down quite a bit by using that. This is just a cash flow that we put together. This top section here, and you can see the years go across the top. I will just take year number 1. When we add the energy savings and the operational savings together, it comes up with $176,000 annually. And then we drop down and look at the program cost, which include the principal and the interest. It includes the performance assurance, is how we measure things every year. And then the annual gross cost pretty much match up to the annual savings year after year. And then in year 15, you'll see that there's a little bit excess cash there of $21,000 left over at the end of the term. This model was at 2.65%. You know, we competed some banks against each other and came up with that rate. If you guys bond this, there's chances are you'll get a much better rate than that. But really, it hasn't been determined how the finances are going to work yet. I guess that'll be in the next committee.
Yeah, Lisa will probably make a recommendation at the budget committee meeting.
The baseline is established when, like right now, or?
It'll be established, it's established now as a matter of utilities, and then when we start doing the construction, we'll do pre-measurements on many of the pieces out there. So with lighting, we'll measure wattages. With water, we'll measure how much gallons you're flowing and how long showers are running, things like that.
So that's the baseline. It'll never change to this 15-year period of time, and that's how you quantify the savings, correct?
Yeah, it's baseline minus the savings associated with the new equipment. That'll give you your savings year after year.
Okay. What's the life expectancy of that HVAC unit?
With ASHRAE says, 20 years is about right on that stuff. It just depends. So yeah, as long as we're better than the 15-year term, we feel good about it.
So at the end of this 15-year term, we'll probably turn around and do it again?
Maybe 5 years later.
There'll be somebody else here sitting here.
But you will continue. You will continue to see the savings throughout that time period. Is there any questions on that part of it right now? I can go into the FIMs, which we call facility improvement measures, if you'd like. I touched on them. There are some greenhouse gas savings too that we're going to get. Environmental challenges to counties now. You'll get, $300,000 in KWA, 300,000 KWA savings per year. It's about 19,000 therms of natural gas.
It's a good press release, Mayor, or Sheriff.
I'm sorry.
That's a good press release.
Yeah.
Get your PIO to put that out.
And the one equivalency, with greenhouse gases, there's no real equivalency with water. We are accounting for some of the natural gas savings by heating it. But we're looking at saving 13.7 million gallons of water per year by doing this project. So that's quite a nice little chunk of, it's about 47% of the water usage you have out there right now.
Stone River might be full.
Not sure about that one. So lighting improvements, again, they're in the 400 men's cells. They're in the chase areas. It's a simple LED conversion. The water conservation, which is the biggest piece, we're actually looking at using lower flow valves and lower flow aerators as one portion of these savings. And the second portion of the savings is we're putting in a networked flushing technology system. So what it will do is it will allow only so many flushes per day on the toilets. Right now, we're modeling the inmates use about 16 flushes per day. And that's for throwing garbage away, that's for courtesy flushes, that's just whatever they want to do with the cells right now. So we're trying to knock off 5 of those per day. So we're going to knock it down to 11.
Let me ask a question. Backing up that laundry room, I saw the schematics on there. Where you at now? Are these going to be put back into the existing lines that are there now?
No, we're putting
all
all
additional
new.
on the floor.
all new water piping, all new gas piping, ventilation, makeup air, all new drainage, etc.
I mean, as far as the drainage, you're gonna use the same existing drainage?
There's a grate in there that's the
Yeah.
same size, but we're going to be piping it in
Okay, or
from
I'm
each
just gonna
unit.
ask a question. Are you gonna rotor it and see if the pipes are decent, can uphold, or if they've been eat
Yeah,
out or not?
the drain pipes are in good shape. We've looked at them pretty
Okay.
extensively because we do know that there's going to be additional capacity.
Right.
But one thing about what we're looking at too is you're not going to go 3 shifts anymore on it. You're going to go down to 2 shifts. So
Right.
although the load is going to be the same, there's going to be a reduction in shift usage. So anyways, on the flush lockout, we're going to go from 16 flushes per inmate down to 11. And then with shower technology, we're going to take it from the 11 minutes we feel are using now down to 5 minutes per shower. And that's going to save a really big number of gallons per year. Any questions on that?
If you just use cold water, you could probably get it down to 3 minutes.
Maybe even less.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into it.
No problem.
This is the laundry expansion, so as I said, we're putting ozone in units, and we are adding two new 140-pound washers and 2 new 170-pound dryers. We're going to expand the room approximately 330 square feet. We're going to move it back into a storage area. Right now, this is the configuration of the room. This is the storage area that exists. So we're going to take out this back wall, and then we're going to extend it 15 feet, then re-enclose it, and then line the 4 washers up here and 4 dryers here.
Is that back where archives is, or was?
Yes.
Was, yeah, okay.
What's in there now?
Paraphernalia, just stuff. It's just
Bunch of stuff.
Stuff, yeah.
Y'all built those other buildings out there, but there's a lot of stuff out there,
We've been
yeah.
doing away, we've been spring cleaning.
Hooverville.
Yeah.
Currently, there's a door in this laundry area, and inmates are in this room as well, and it's access to all of the mechanical pieces of the dryer units, the gas lines, ventilation, etc. So we're going to be, with the new configuration, that door will only be accessed now through the storage area. So the door will actually be removed from the room. It's just a matter of safety, I guess, or security, I guess. The rooftop units, we're replacing 6 5-ton packaged and 2 10-ton packaged units. We're putting in new drain precedent high efficiency units. So the efficiency gain's a little bit better than what you have in there now. We're providing new roof curbs for those units because of the high efficiency we have to. And then just all the gas, electric, duct connections, and then we'll hook up the existing controllers. Last piece of the puzzle, we're looking at the kitchen. You've got 2 fume hoods in there right now. They're about 40 feet long for both of them. They have 2 exhaust fans and 1 makeup air unit that feeds it. And right now they come on at 3 o'clock in the morning. They just flip the switch on and they run till 7 o'clock in the evening at 100% constant capacity. So we're going to put some sensors in the hoods. They'll look at heat, and they'll look at smoke, and they'll increase and decrease the speed of the fans based on that. So we think we'll see about an average speed of about 40%, and then when they cook, it'll ramp up a little bit and come down, and that'll all be automated. So it's a good way of making some savings on a hood that runs constantly right now. Any questions on that? We looked at additional areas. We looked at the boilers. Boilers are running about 86% efficient. We ran some stack monitoring on them, so they're in really pretty good shape. There's really no way to put in a stack economizer based on the size of the boilers. We looked at energy efficient motors throughout the complex, and it just was too high of a cost to justify doing it versus savings. You presently have a train tracer building automation system in there, so there really wasn't any advantage to trying to change that based on the way the facility runs. It's pretty much on just all the time, and set points are set at 68 degrees, and that's needed to keep the cell blocks at a certain comfort level. And then we also looked at cooler and freezer controls. They've done a really good job out there of energy. You know, Sergeant Scott is very energy conscious and has done a good job, so he made my job quite hard. We were able to help in areas that they really needed it. Is there any questions? That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
You started this process today, next month, how long would it take you to?
I anticipate 8 months. 8 months. So it'd be about a month of getting subs under contract, getting equipment ordered, 6 months of construction, and a month of closeout.
What do you need from us?
It wasn't necessary to bring it to the committee, but the jail, the sheriff does fall under this committee. Property management went ahead and approved it the other night. We just thought it'd be good to bring it through this committee as well before it goes to budget. That way you've got 3 committees backing it. You know, if the budget approves it, 21 commissioners, it gives them a green light. So
Since we fall under you, we wanted you to have
just an affirmation of support.
Would you like a motion from this
Yes, sir.
committee to?
Yes, sir. I would.
Also
Yes, sir,
approve
I
it?
would.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion. Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Motion's approved. And gentlemen, if you'd like to look at it further, it is on the SharePoint. It was put on there today. So you can go to the county SharePoint and take a look at it, see it. Pretty interesting read. I just went ahead and copied mine today, so I've already been reading it. Check it. So it's
I've got a
pretty
copy in my office too, if you want to swing by.
Pretty interesting reading.
Very good presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chairman, we have one last thing under other business. The reason I made Director Lauer wait is because it came up after we published this. So Director Lauer, if you want to come up, and Sonia will come up as well. Director Lauer has, in a short tenure, been reevaluating his EMA. Of course, all 3 agencies report to him, but he's done an evaluation. There was an employee that has been dismissed who had just chronic FLMA. I think she had 5 FLMAs. Finally made the decision with legal to go ahead and pull the trigger. We have a vacancy, but he wants that person to change the job description. So working with Sonia and with Lisa, it's not going to cost anything this year. It will ramp up into next year's budget. I'll let them explain what you want to do with that position, Director.
So basically, the front office position is vacant. We've really struggled because our existing staff has had to try to ramp up and take that gap in there. So we felt like that would be most appropriate to not only to obviously to replace the position, but add additional duties so that once the person is hired and we get them trained, we'll actually have another response capable person so that it can expand the rotation as far as our folks on call and just make us more efficient as far as our capabilities we can have for the whole emergency management program. So what we'd like to do is to create a hybrid position of administrative assistant as well as / operations individual. And that would require a little bit different skill set. I don't expect to find one person that has both of those, so there'll be a learning curve on one side or the other, unless we just get very, very lucky with that. But once that occurs, and that'll give us additional people that can go out and help to support all the jurisdictions and agencies that we have in the county.
And the goal would really be to find somebody that is more leans more heavily towards the EMA side from the operations side, and then train the backside on the, the grants and the keeping up with the grants, the databases, the accounts payables, receivables, and those type things. Because somebody who comes in from the operations side can then hit the ground running to help on calls and to help with the on-call. Because right now with the turnover, they're having to do it every 3 weeks. And so this would give them once a month having to do the on-call shifts for that month. It would help also to offset, because Kevin is wearing the 3 hats while he's doing the EMA. This also helps offset some of those duties that Tim would assume some of the EMA director duties, so then this person could then offset and help maybe do some training classes or some of those other things that they were doing, and also look for additional dollars. So when we looked at it, we were wanting to classify the position as we do our other 2 positions right now, which is our communications and Carrie, who does all the plans, to make sure, because they will be doing similar but different duties, but it's in the same scope of the business. When we looked at the 5 years experience credit that we offer if somebody comes in with 5 years, based on the salary of the person who just vacated the position, it's going to be right in line and maybe even a little bit of savings. So this year, it doesn't appear that there would be additional monies to the budget, but if somebody comes in step 6, the person that vacated was topped out at a 21, so obviously there's going to be an increase next year if a step increase or anything is done as far as pay raises go for the employees. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's not unusual for positions for that to happen anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But so it's not, I just felt like it was better to bring it and get your blessings before we take it to budget. We talked to Lisa, and like I said, I don't think that there'll be any new dollars or anything like that, but we wanted to make sure that the Public Safety Committee and the Budget Committee was okay with us reclassifying that position as opposed to just doing it. So
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, and we've had 2 months of cost savings, so that we definitely are fine this year if we're at equal even. So we just got to get somebody in place.
Commissioner
So,
Gordon?
yeah, having been in this small department for 4 years myself, from 2011 to 2015, when I came to work, I thought I was just going to be working on communication stuff. I found rather quickly that I was going to be doing
Jack of all trades.
response stuff, which included anything and everything, from going out with the SWAT team on hostage standoffs to the diesel spills like we saw tonight. And, that might mean the interstate shut down. So these are sometimes long hours in all kinds of weather. While I had done all this in younger days, I found that it was much more difficult in your 60s than it was in your 30s and 40s. So, having to do that every 3 weeks, I see the need for this. I always kind of questioned the need for a full-time admin person with only 4 people. At that time, we had the fire coordinator, which later became when we created the fire department, became the fire chief. So there was never more than about 4 people there and an admin. So I think this is a good move. I fully support it. It takes some of the burden off of those that do have to respond on an on-call basis. And like I said, those on-call things are come at any time. And I think you will have to lean toward that, because having the hazmat training and all that is something that is probably going to be more difficult to have. But I think you'll probably find you'll have a lot of people from within the fire and EMS community within Rutherford County that have a lot of those qualifications already and only need a little bit of extra training. And so I fully support this. I think it's, and I'll say this right now. I think, when I left, we were still, 4 years ago, we were still battling, and Director Lahr probably is wrapping his mind around this, but all these industries out here that we still lack plans for, and just keeping up the plans. with the high growth that we have, and so on, in my opinion, there probably needs to be 2 or 3 more people in that department the size we are. I don't think you'll find a county with 300 and something thousand people that has as small an EMA department as what we have. So I fully support it, and
You'll
thank you
make the
for-
motion, Commissioner?
I'll make the motion to approve this.
Sounded like a motion anyway.
We got the motion and several seconds. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. So we'll
Really
send it on the
appreciate that.
budget from here too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I say something else?
You may.
Someone at this table is having a birthday tomorrow, so I just thought I would say happy birthday. Do you know who it is? Commissioner Phillips?
Shut up.
I saw you looking around like it wasn't you. I was like, I'm pretty sure I have this right.
I smile.
Or he was trying to say if there was somebody else at the table for
Happy
birthday.
It's better to celebrate them than not.
I'm so old, they let me move up to head off the ladies' tee at the golf course.
All right, is there anything should come before this committee? If not, I hear a motion to adjourn. I have a motion and a second. We are adjourned.